Narrows can go, the helical angle will be this way on the narrow. It's going to be this way on the wide. Do you see that?
Good morning. Happy Tuesday. I have Neuro Coffee in hand and it is perfect. All right. A big thank you to everybody that participated in the IFS University conference call yesterday. It was great. We had a great call. If you're not a member of IFS University, go to ifsuniversity.com. Get yourself signed up so you can participate in these calls. They were great. Good group of people. Awesome questions. Digging into today's Q&A. This is with Ivan. Ivan's got a tough client. Okay. When you think about archetypes and the extremes, they can be very, very difficult to program. So he's got a narrow ISA individual, lots of anterior-posterior compression, so not a lot of space to work in. So what we have is we have somebody that's on a more vertical helical angle, but in a compressed space. So we don't have a lot of expanded areas, and so we have to make sure that our exercise selection fits into that space initially, at least, to keep them comfortable and capable. And so what we do is we deconstruct that space so you can actually see what this person has available to them. And then from there, we go step by step by step, and we actually construct a little bit of a program. So again, it'll be very useful for a lot of people that are struggling with trying to determine the best course of action, especially for some of these extremes that get represented, whether you're at the extreme wide end of the spectrum or extreme narrow end of the spectrum. So again, very useful. If you would like to participate in a 15-minute consultation, please go to askbillhartman@gmail.com, askbillhartman@gmail.com. Put 15-minute consultation in the subject line so I don't delete it. We'll arrange that at our mutual convenience. Everyone have an outstanding Tuesday, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Ivan.
Hello, Bill.
Hello, Ivan.
So first of all, I want to say I'm smiling because of your great jokes and because
my great jokes.
Yes. You have a good sense of humor.
Thank you. I try.
Yeah, and because my mind is exploding constantly while listening to these conversations. So, yeah, basically my question is, I've got a new client and she has fibromyalgia and trochanteric bursitis and calcinations on the hips and herniation in the neck and the lumbar spine, and basically she's just really compressed. And I think she's a swayback, but I'm not completely sure because her measures were bigger than I expected. But when I looked at the videos of the measures in slow motion, I could see a lot of like compensatory motions in the body, but still, because if she's a swayback, right, I shouldn't really try to do much of pelvic tilts to increase that posterior lower compression, right?
No.
So
You gotta
I
be
was
careful.
thinking,
You gotta be very careful with it. Yeah.
yeah. So I was thinking more like right side lying and maybe first manual rolling.
Yeah.
So she basically just breathes and nothing else. But because my session is like 1 hour, like what else could I do, you know, basically to fill up the time? That's my question.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so if you can, so the step number one is you got to create some space to work in, right? That's what you're trying to do with the rolling. So you take a little bit of gravity away and you should be able to increase space, right? That would be the favorable result. So you do the rolling and you expand the anterior posterior space on the sides, and it slowly, she starts to create the turns, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And so we're tying all of this in. So this is like an Ian question, and this is like a Misha question today. Right. So Misha's representation is very, very similar in regards to where the spaces are that you have available to you. The problem is if she's a narrow ISA, you don't have like crazy wide space. You just have a smaller box anterior to posterior. So she's working inside of this space, right? So she's within her pelvis, and she's got a little bit of turn, right? So all of the stuff that would lighten her is available. Okay, so anything where she's pulling something down should be useful. Okay. Anything where she is reaching out to the side should be useful. Okay. But you can probably get her into supine asymmetrical.
Okay.
Okay. So she can do things like that. Teaching her like some of the armbar stuff would be available to you. Right. So she can start to turn, right, and create the anterior posterior expansion here. She's going to get lower cervical spine to start to move, which is probably going to be really, really useful, especially if she's got the representation of the herniated disc there. You got a lower cervical spine that's not turning. If she's got a lumbar herniation, she's got a lumbar spine that's not turning. Okay. The stepping away from midline. So I think you and Misha should probably have a conversation, right? Because you're going to structure a very similar representation. Misha's client's going to be able to take a bigger step away from midline. Your client's going to take a shorter step away from midline, but in the same directions. Because again, the spaces are in the same place. It's just a smaller representation side to side. Okay.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And
Yeah.
I was wondering.
Sorry. So why does the narrow ISA have less space than the wide? I would think it's the other way around.
Okay.
Because
their space started deeper front to back, not wider side to side. So hang on. Extreme representation. Narrow ISA, anterior, posterior, wide ISA. Okay. The overlap between the two. So if I compress the narrow, if I push back here and I push this forward, the space is going to compress into the overlap. So it's going to be in this box right here. Narrows can go, the helical angle will be this way on the narrow. It's going to be this way on the wide. Do you see that? We're looking top down. I'm standing above them, looking down on their feet. All right. So if I compress this anterior, so it goes back this way, and I compress posterior, it goes this way. They don't get wider. Their helical angle doesn't change. It's just the space gets compressed anterior and posterior. Okay. This person's already compressed anterior posterior, but they had a wider helical angle to begin with. So they can't go this way, but they can go that way. Okay. So Ian's space is right there. Misha's space is right there. Okay. Does that make sense? And again, it's an extreme representation for effect, but that's basically the shape that you have available. Does that help you, Ivan?
Yeah, and I was also thinking, if she's sway back, could I, after getting some relative motion back, could I try to do like some kind of a middle propulsive activity to get the eccentric orientation of the muscles below the level of the trochanter?
Okay, so let's figure out a way to get there. How can we get there while we're training?
Well, with various exercises like chopping, for an example.
Okay, maybe, but remember, again, let's go back to Ian's representation. So when we go to middle, you're going to have a lot of bend in the hip, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What if I bend the hip too soon before she has access to that motion? What's the problem?
Again, her spine is probably going to take
There you go. So now you're going to get spinal compensatory strategy. So where can we start her so we want to teach her how to lower center of gravity. We want to teach her how to go through a late, middle, early representation, right? That would be our representation of like a toe touch. It'd be our representation of a squat. Okay.
Yeah.
So what activity can we select here that might start to teach her how to lower her center of gravity, keep her in a space that's comfortable for her, and then slowly introduce her to something that would be more representative of a middle? Very simple, not complex.
You mean standing up activity?
Sure.
Okay. Well, then also chopping, but not, but in early.
Okay, I'm with you there. I'm not disagreeing with that at all, but let's do something else. Like, I don't want to just do rolls and chops all day. I got an hour to kill, right?
Okay, so
What else
maybe
can we do?
the same as Misha, a split squat that's
Okay,
but with her leg more to the
awesome.
side.
Love that. Now it's going to be a shorter step, but the angles are going to be, the angles will be similar. Okay, what else?
Maybe a heels elevated goblet squat.
Do you think that she's going to be able to access that space?
No.
Okay, so let's stick with the squat pattern. Okay.
Okay.
What type of a squat do we want to give her to start to introduce that space to her? The way where we can control how far she's moving.
So maybe like an TRX squat. If I don't.
Potentially, yes. But let's give her a space where we can teach her how to yield.
Yeah, I'm lost.
It's okay. I think Ian knows what I want to do, don't you?
Come on, Ian, help me out.
Huh?
Box squat.
Box squat. Yeah. So you put her on a high box squat. Okay. So you put her on a high box squat. She loads onto the box. That's going to get you a yielding action. You start her in a high box squat above that middle representation, because chances are the middle is going to be the hardest part for her to capture, isn't it? Right.
Yeah.
But you might be able to teach her how to yield in a high box squat, and then that's going to get you a better representation of early. So she's already an ER'd individual. We want to move her from a late ER'd representation to an early ER'd representation, which is just a rate dependent issue. So as I sit her down to the box and she unloads onto the box, she's going to yield. That's going to teach her how to capture that early representation that I need to get her all the way down to the bottom of the squat. You see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
go ahead.
I shouldn't do like quick, right? I should let her sit and then wait like a second or two so she yields fully and then stand back up again.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You got it.
Okay.
So we got to squat, we got to step, we got to step up, we got to lunge, we got to chop, we got to roll. We're killing this program.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see what you got? You got an arm bar.
Yeah.
Lots of
I think just because I'm quite new to the model, I'm still struggling a bit with finding all of the activities, because I'm really like doing a lot of theory work, but maybe like gotta start doing all these different activities to
right.
get that.
So you just start to look at the space that's available to exercise without the compensations, right?
Yeah.
And then that's where you start. That's how you keep people comfortable first, right? Then they get used to moving, and then as they start to move and you start to recapture motion. So just by sitting her down on the box with just give her like a goblet representation and have her sitting back to the box, and she's going to breathe as she does this. You're going to teach her to unload and then stand back up, right? Always make her successful, make it look pretty, right? First. Okay. But as she starts to move that way, she's going to start to recapture ranges of motion. As that expands, so does your exercise repertoire.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you. That was really helpful.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.